Good evening. We're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to How to Love an Addict. On your paperwork, what you'll see is there's something that's going to be reiterated. You are not their Savior. And the reason why that we put that over and over again is because there's something in a man's mind that seems right on how to help a person. Sometimes we can end up doing a little bit more damage than we thought. So we can come across with something like a Messiah complex. And it's a state of mind in which an individual holds, then they believe that they're destined to be somebody's savior or a savior. So we get this upon ourselves that we want to be able to save that person in their addiction, that there's something we can do somehow in order to change that person. And that is what we call a Messiah complex. It's a savior complex. It's trying to be somebody's savior. All right? And so we're going to be talking about, what we're going to be talking about today is not guaranteed to save somebody's life, but it's meant to improve an already existing situation. So if the quality of their life has not been good thus far, what we'll learn today will only improve it. There will be some things that you will disagree with, and that's okay. Please remember that we're all working towards the same goal. The definition of an addict is a person who's addicted to any substance, typically an illegal drug or harmful lifestyle. So what is an addict? Our definition is a person who depends on any substance or lifestyle other than God. That's our definition. We teach based off personal experiences using the Bible as our reference points of unconditional love. For example, how many people in this room have fought with an addiction? How many years have we had in addiction? Okay, so if we were to add up the total number of years of the people who raised their hand in this room, it would be a good amount. And so what that means is that we can take that experience and learn from it. John C. Maxwell wrote, he said, a wise person learns from his mistakes, but a wiser person learns from the mistakes of others. All right? And so to finish the quote, he says, but the wisest person of all learns from others' successes. And so that's where we stand at Hope House with How to Love an Addict. Not simply based upon the fact that we are learning from our mistakes and learning from other people's mistakes, but we are learning from the successes that God has brought about through the program. And it starts when a man is willing to change his life. So the biblical view of addiction is Hosea 4:1-3, and it should be written out in extents on y'all's, but I'm going to read just a subpart of it. Hear the word of the Lord, you Israelites, because the Lord has charged to bring against you who live in the land. There is no faithfulness, no love, no acknowledgement of God in the land. There is only cursing, lying, and murder, stealing, and adultery. They break all bounds, and bloodshed follows bloodshed. Because of this, the land dries up, and all who live in it waste away. The beasts of the field and the birds of the sky and the fish in the sea are swept away. So that shows a picture of a person who has given in to living to their desires of the flesh. And when a person gets into that, what happens is it's all about them. And so when it's all about them, they forget about what keeps them alive and sustaining them. So I'm going to give you the description of an addict from the heart of an addict. Hello, I'm an addict. And this is what addicts do. You cannot, nor will not change my behavior. You cannot make me treat you better, let alone treat you with any respect. All I care about, all I think about is my needs on how to go about fulfilling them. You're a tool to me, something to use. When I say I love you, I'm lying through my teeth, because love is impossible for somebody in active addiction. I wouldn't be using if I love myself. And since I don't love myself, I cannot love you. My feelings are so pushed down and numbed by my drug use that I could be considered a sociopath. I have no empathy for you or anyone else. It doesn't faze me that I hurt you, leave you hungry, lie to you, cheat on you, or steal from you. My behavior cannot and will not change until I make the decision to stop using, and then follow it up with a plan of action. And until I make that decision, I will hurt you again and again and again. Stop being surprised. I'm an addict, and that's what I do. The key traits to look for in the behavior is rapid change in weight. Some of y'all may have experienced that with y'all loved ones. It's really, really, really noticeable. The excessive change in the sleep pattern. Maybe they're sleeping a little bit too much. That would be with your opioids, your downers. Maybe they're not sleeping enough. That would be with your uppers, with your methamphetamines and amphetamines. So the manipulation in this is they're always in need. It's kind of crazy that it seemed like everything bad always happened to me, and I was always looking for somebody to help me out of a situation, and the way that they could help me out was always about $20. And it was like, why do you always need $20? You say somebody siphoned gas out of your tank and you need $20. Okay, you can't pay a bill and you're $20 short. Well, $20 is a $20 sack. That's the least that you can get. That's something you can get by. So I don't know if some of y'all are used to this or not, but if we're all in this situation right here, some of this may start sounding true. It may start ringing true. And that's what we want to do, is we want to see it as the truth where we're actually at. Because when we acknowledge this as the truth, then we can move forward. So playing the victim is one big key that addicts do. I'm going to kill myself. Have y'all heard that before? Okay? Or you don't love me. Or I need money for my bills, or I'm going to be sick. It's always something. The awesome thing about it is, and I know when I say awesome, it's like, wow, that's not a word to use in this situation, but the awesome thing about it is that it's so common that we can look around the room and see that we're all going through it, have been through it, or will go through it. And so we can take what Maxwell said about learning from it. So enabling. In order to help the addict, their loved ones need to let the addict deal with the fullness of the consequences of their actions. It says again, you're not their savior. Giving them money is not going to help them. Offering them a place to sleep is not going to help them. Buying them things is not going to help them. Paying their bills is not going to help them. Now, at this juncture right now, I want to ask Ms. Tommy to speak on something.
My name is Tommy. That's my husband Bart over there in the corner. We lost our son to his addiction in November, the day before Thanksgiving. He was 26. And have been fighting the opioid demon for 7 years. He'd been in trouble with the law several times. I like to blame a lot of things in my hurt. I blame the system because he didn't go to jail when he got in trouble. He got probation. I blamed everything. But the truth of it was, he never was allowed to hit bottom because I saved him. I knew. I should have known. I wasn't doing him any favors. I'd taken him out of his hole. I was an addict when I was younger. I was raised by an addict. So I knew. It's kind of like Jason said about the Messiah complex. I guess I just thought if I did enough for him, I could help him dig out of that hole, And it didn't happen. I even lied to Dad, Don't get into women. Okay, I will. Here it is. so he won't be broke. The day before Thanksgiving, we had kicked him out of the house finally. And well, actually 2 days before Thanksgiving, I had him stay the night at the house because we were gonna go on our family trip, which was always a fiasco with an addict. Trying to plan around, are they gonna show up when it's time to go? Are they gonna be high? Is it gonna be miserable the entire time? Y'all know. Anyway, I had him stay at the house. Well, he went out with some friends that lived down the road that he grew up with that were not his drug friends. They were high school buddies. They are not. I was laying in bed about midnight. I heard him coming up the hall, and I was just like, thank you, Jesus. He's home. It means he's not going to be hungover. He's not going to be high. He's going to be rested, you know? I was so excited. And as I was drifting off to sleep, I heard something in his room hit the floor that I assumed were his boots, kicking his boots off. But when I went in to wake him up at 7 the next morning, it was him. I know that I'm not to blame. I mean, I know I'm not trying to say it's my fault. I'm not, please don't take that from this. What I want you to take from this is maybe, if just once I just said, no, I don't have $20, or no, you can't take my car, or, you know, no, you can't move back in. And then maybe he would have reached a point in his life where he would have got some help. But I mean, and he went through the whole house twice and did awesome. I mean, he was 3 months the first time that's when it was a 3-month program. And the second time he stayed the whole 6 months. And both times we were just thrilled because we were like, wow, we got our way back. You know, I have pictures of him at the altar praying for his friends and brothers. Both times came home, stayed sober for a little while. Same old stuff. But I just can't help thinking that maybe if we just said no, you're a grown man, get your own place, get your own car, that maybe he'd still be here with us. I mean, I don't know anything else to say really other than sometimes love hurts. Sometimes love ain't putting your arms around them and giving them what they want. It's pulling back and saying,
one thing I want to say is that he's miserable, or they're miserable. Now they're making you miserable. And through enabling them, that puts you more in a situation where you're right up close to that misery. It's hard to get out of it.
and codependent too. I mean, I became very codependent on him. So now I'm just like, what do I do now? I don't have anyone to take care of. He was my baby.
You know, and that doesn't mean that you don't, you know, if they come around, yeah, you treat them right. You know, you buy, you don't give them money, but you feed them a meal, and then you send them home. You know, you show them that you love them. You let them know that you love them, but you got, you know, you're not living right. You know. And I mean, we've seen people. I mean, you know, that's our personal experience, but we've seen, Tommy and I've been real close to people that come into the Hope House, and we've seen them and they'll leave. And we'll hear from them, and they're doing real good for a while.
And then you quit hearing from him.
And then you quit hearing from them, and then you find out, and almost every time it comes back, you find out that their families on the downfall. We've had people that come into the Hope House that have been in many, many programs, and when they get mad and want to leave, here comes mom or dad to pick them up to take them to another program.
Well, and like I said, I mean, I think the truth of it is just loving your kids sometimes means them being angry at you. I don't ever remember a time that Terry was angry at me. And that's not a good thing, because he needed to be, because I needed to be told him that. Because I wasn't trying to be his friend. I just, for whatever reason, kept thinking I could do enough. But I promise you, you can't. And that whole rock bottom thing is a real place, and they really need to make it there. I was thinking the other day, I don't think Terry ever had to sleep outside a day in his life, ever. And he was an addict for 7 years, a heroin addict for 7 years. And I don't think he ever once had to sleep anywhere other than his own bed or on a friend's couch. And I hear some of these Hope House guys talk about living on the street, eating out of dumpsters, you know. But they're clean now, and they're leaders of the home. And my baby had a nice cozy bed, and he's dead now. That is all I have to share.
Thank you so much, guys.
The reality of enabling. As Tommy was telling the story, I was remembering Terry's face. Remembering talking to him, pouring into him, smiling, seeming like he's got it. You know, it's assure you, I got it this time. Got it this time. When he got upset, he was the first one to be like, you know what, I'm out. I'm done. You're treating me wrong. And the crazy thing about it is I've heard a lot of these guys talk to their parents, to y'all, about, you know, this ministry is about making money and this. Well, it is not. It's absolutely free. Nobody here gets paid by the state to be here. Nobody here is making money off a bed that's being here. No, it costs to house. It costs to feed. By the grace of God, He provides.
Amen.
We're not state funded in any way, or else we couldn't say the name of Jesus. But we know that's the only name we can say that can break chains of addiction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read. Miss Tommy said I can read this. I will not help kill my child. My baby grew up to be an addict. There was a time when I believed a mother's love could fix anything, but it can't fix this. For too many years, I thought I was helping my child. I thought I was doing my job, keeping them out of trouble and getting them out of trouble, or getting them out of trouble and believing them, even when they lied. I tried to keep my child from suffering because that's what a mother's love does. I connived, I willed, I cried, I begged, I continued to aid and abet and enable like a champ. I did everything I could do to protect my child from himself until I finally realized it wasn't my son I was protecting. I was protecting the addict, making it easier for the addict, giving the addict one more day to further consume my child's body and mind. I was helping the addict kill my child, and I was trying to save my motherly love, or save my child's body and mind, and I was helping the addict. I was trying to save my child. My motherly love would need to be controlled, contorted, and redefined. There's nothing about this kind of love that feels good. But I'm not doing it for me. I will do everything. Excuse me, I'm trying to read this and hold this back. I will do everything. No, excuse me. I will do nothing ever again to help the addict, because if I do, I have no hope of seeing my child. I love my child, and it's because I love him that I'm done paying the addict's ransom. The reason I had a tough time reading that is because when I was putting this together and I was reading that, I read that from my mom. Probably about 3 hours ago. And she did everything to enable me. And I loved her, but I was so upset with the fact that she was always there for me with another $20, another, paying my bills or whatever, or making excuses for me. And at the time, the addict loved her. I wanted to see her come by more often. She brought me groceries when I needed. She lied to people about, what I was doing and where I was at. She had to re-secure other family members that I wasn't in an addiction when I was. She told me just after that, when I told her about this story and I read it to her, she said, "Son, I just thought you were sick for a long time." I said, "Mom, I was, but you knew it was an addiction. You just failed to receive it." So emotional growth stops with use. Regardless of 1 month or 10 years of use, emotional growth stops because of addiction. When addicts get clean, they don't know how to deal with their emotions. We teach addicts how to deal with their emotions. Because you got to remember, a sober lifestyle is foreign to an addict. In other words, one gentleman said that his son has been dealing with this addiction for so long that he forgot what it's like to be sober. He's 27, I believe, days clean and sober. And in his mind, he already got it. I'm telling you though, it was the same with me. I started clearing up, started getting a little bit of weight to me, and I figured I had it all figured out. Now that I look the appearance and everything on the outside looked correct and proper, and now I've gained 30, 40 pounds, and I'm not sleep deprived no more, and I somewhat got my head about me. Now I can go out in public and be the man that I need to be, with so much suppressed anger issues and so much suppressed emotional issues. Because when I started my drug use, I stopped growing, because now I'm synthetically inducing this into my body to where it's running, not me. So I'm numbing things out that I don't want to deal with. So what happens is that I didn't know how to work clean and sober. I didn't. And so the crazy thing about it is the Hope House still does provide an opportunity for a man to work in a social environment. And they love the opportunity to get to do something. Until 30 days, maybe a month and a half, 6 weeks go by. Oh man, come on, I'm doing all this for y'all. What are y'all doing for me? They don't see that it's training ground in order to deal with other people, just like if they were on a job site and they would have to deal with people with issues. Okay, but these people are more understanding. Why? Because they have issues just like you. And so by the end of it, we hope to teach people how to deal with their emotions that they have suppressed for so long. So the goals for our residents in the Hope House. If a person is serious about change, submitting to authority is the key. Now, what happens is the person says, okay, these are authorities in my life. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start listening to them, and I'm going to start doing what I need to do regardless of how I feel about it. And so people hold them accountable. What that means is you must exercise being under authority. Because no matter where you are in this world, you're going to be under authority. You got rules and guidelines and regulations that you must abide by. So Jesus Christ being the first authority, we teach them to manage relationships, jobs, and financial responsibilities in a healthy and positive manner. Because that's something that was devoid of in their drug abuse, in their drug addiction. Now I wanted to talk about some tools for healing as well. Now, we need to stop getting in the way of natural consequences. Because Tommy spoke about that. It doesn't rescue the addict. It feeds the addiction. Sometimes pain is the only thing that can break their denial. A good thump on the head sometimes does it. When mom and dad set boundaries and say, look, I refuse to go any further. I love you. Even Ed talks about his daughter. That's our pastor. And he says, you know what? When she was hungry, she can come over and eat, but by the time she was done with the meal, she's got to take her and her kids and go. They can't stay there. He doesn't have a room for them. Does he love them? Yes. But not in the sense that would hurt her or have her rely back on him. So setting boundaries and goals. You got to understand you cannot and will not get them sober. That is the reality. Sometimes pain is the only way. So when you set boundaries and goals, you stop building your life around or changing your lifestyle for their needs. I'm sure everybody in this room has changed their lifestyles to their loved ones' needs. Whether you didn't go somewhere because you were having problems with them, or whether you couldn't take care of something because you financially supported them, or whatever it has been, it's been taxing on you. Their addiction is not going to go, like my wife said, it's not a spectator sport. You're involved, and it's taxing. So your well-met support is enabling their addiction. Set healthy boundaries regardless of the addict's behavior. Remember, you don't have control on whether they use or not. So tools for self-care is to remember that you're not their savior. And self-care is vital. Start taking care of yourself and repair relationships that were damaged due to neglect and enabling. So this is where parents and loved ones have to take it upon themselves to rebuild their lives. Like Miss Tommy said, the only thing she knew was how to deal with her son's addiction. And so all that life in that addiction was about catering to his needs and helping him out of situations. So that forms a codependency. And that codependency is there, which means that the loved one is now at the at the subjection of the addict. Not the child, but the addict. So the addiction don't just have one, it has a family. Whoever cares and loves for that one is affected by that addiction. So start taking better care of yourselves, guys, and repairing them relationships with other people. Being open and honest, say, look, yeah, my son, my daughter is going through some things right now, dealing with addiction, and we're setting boundaries, and just pray for us, and just help us by being supportive. So shame is a big thing that keeps us back. You need to enjoy life again, not being consumed by the choices or situations surrounding the addict. Loving an addict is stressful on the whole family. It's like, my wife said this too, and she put this in there. It's like watching them drown in 2 inches of water. That's what she told me, that watching me in my addiction was like watching me drown in 2 inches of water. At any point in time, I could have turned my head and picked it up out of there. At any point in time, I could have stood up like a man. But I chose not to. Okay, so you're not their savior, remember. Be strict and consistent. Sit still and trust God. Everyone in the family needs to be on the same page. So if anybody who has to do with your loved one who is fighting addiction needs to be on the same page as you. That means you need to let them know that they can't give them $20 either. They can't give them a ride. They can't let them sleep on their couch. Toughest love of all. Tough loving an addict has nothing to do with anger, and Barton touched on this. Tough loving an addict has nothing to do with anger or meanness. It doesn't mean that we should be rough and gruff with my child. It doesn't mean that I should turn my back or slam the door. Instead, it means I will sacrifice what feels good to me right now for what actually does good for my child in the long term. It means that I have come to understand that I cannot live their life, make their decisions, or do their work for them. Tough loving an addict doesn't look like love is supposed to look, full of give and take and trust. Because addiction has broken all the rules. But still, it is love. The expression tough love doesn't mean to be mean. It's called tough love because accepting the responsibility or the impossible of controlling someone else's behavior is tough to do. It means I love you enough to bear the toughest love of all.